Hey, welcome to Undercover Adventure. Today we're going to talk to Andrew Ingram. Andrew's been a personal friend of mine for a very long time. He used to be a professional mountain biker. He used to ride for Monster Energy. And then recently he's transitioned more into a entrepreneur role. He's opened up a bike shop in Farragut, Tennessee, just out of Knoxville called Hurricane Cycles. Originally he started it in Crossville, and then now he's expanded to Farragut, and he's also opened a coffee shop called Reef Coffee. So if you want quality bike work done, and you want it, in the Knoxville, Chattanooga, Crossville area, highly recommend Hurricane Cycles. They do a great job. Hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Just close enough where it's like it's gonna pick it all up.
I got you.
Well, dude, thanks for coming, man.
Appreciate you.
I know it was a little bit of a drive over here this morning, so thanks for taking the time to do this.
It's not bad. Coming across the time zone this direction, I can actually get here before I left, which is kind of nice.
It's like a phantom drive.
It is. It's funny. I left home at like right at 11, and I got here at 10:50.
Okay.
Which is kind of weird because of the way the time zone works.
Yeah.
But that's fun.
Well, dude, tell me your origin story. You're an entrepreneur. Used to be pro mountain biker, successful bike shop owner, successful coffee shop owner. Like, you've got your fingers in a little bit of everything. So, like, how did you get started? Where did you grow up? Like, tell me the origins. We'll go from there.
Oh man, always been an outdoor nut. If it was outside, it's where I wanted to be. My earliest memories of being places, anything that like stands out to me as a child, I'm always outside somewhere. Standing on top of a mountain, out in the woods, kicking over rocks as a kid, seeing what kind of slimy, crawly things are under the rocks in the woods, sort of deal. That was me as a little kid.
Did you grow up in Crossville?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. From Crossville, I think at the time when I was little, the smallest number I remember hearing was like 8,000 people that lived in Crossville. I'm not sure what that number's up to now, but I think it's not too far north of that at the moment. So pretty small town. So there wasn't a whole lot of places to go. No one had a ton of money. When I was real little, I know my parents, we grew up in a small trailer in the middle of a cow field. My parents ran a small business. We didn't have a whole lot of money.
Were your parents in the outdoors? Like, did you grow up watching them adventure, or did you just kind of do it on your own?
No, my dad was fully involved in his business completely. Honestly, there's a funny story that I remember being told numerous times. We pulled into the feed store one day, the business that my parents own, and I look out the window and go, "Mom, who's that?" And she says, "That's your dad." It's a little anecdote about how much my dad worked when I was younger. I didn't even know who he was. And when I say younger, I mean like 3-5 years old somewhere. And like mom was just full-time mom, and there were 3 kids. So we all just kind of were free range around the property. We were all homeschooled. And it was I don't know, just plain old, basically. Yeah. So when mom said, "Hey, go play," she meant go dig a hole in the ground and figure out what's in the dirt, So maybe that's where my love of the outdoors came from, was just that childhood of very simple, like what comes to the creative mind of a child, when your only canvas is a tree to climb, what kind of creativity you can come up with. So whenever I got older, that just translated into outdoor sports in general. I loved everything to do with the outdoors that I could get out there and be active. I was also an athlete, so I started in soccer. I played baseball, I played football, I ran track, played all the sports growing up, but I found out that I had the most natural tendency towards mountain biking.
Yeah.
That was the one sport that I had, like, I'm going to call it accidental success with, where my friend talked me into doing a race, and I was like, I thought bikes were just a thing you rode around your driveway. There's people that race these things. What does that look like? Wound up doing pretty good in that race, and I realized, hold up, I actually have a natural tendency for this. Like, I'm kind of good. So then I really leaned in hard, and that took over all of my athletic career from that point forward until roughly 10 years later, after I got into mountain biking. I wound up getting my pro license and traveling around the country. I worked for Team USA with the USA Cycling and made a lot of really good connections through that world, saw a lot of beautiful places, got to do a lot of cool things.
Well, you're the first like pro rider we've had on the show, so I appreciate like I want to hear your stories of like when did it click for you that you're like, mountain biking is my thing, I'm gonna do this?
Honestly, my very first race.
Okay.
Because the way that I grew up, we didn't have a whole lot of money, and we're in a small town. I had no idea that racing was even a thing. So for me, I was like, I need a bike because I want to be out and doing things. It was just like I was too young at the time. I was like 13 when I got my first bike, 14. And for me, it was just a way to get to my friend's house. Like, that's all it was.
Mode of transportation.
It was a mode of transportation. Like, I wasn't riding my bike because, like,
Yeah.
oh, I love bikes. I was riding bikes because I knew at the time, I was like, well, if I get really fit, I can go see my friend that's on the far side of the county. It's like a 20-minute drive. And was that like a 2-3 hour bike ride, you know? I was like, I didn't care. When you're that age, it's like you get out of school, it's like, shoot, I just got off the bus. There's my bike. I'm beating across the county. Like, I'm riding 20 miles to go see my friend for a few hours and then riding back home before dark. It's just, that was normal for me.
Yeah.
And somebody finally pointed out, like, that's not normal, right? No.
Like, yeah, that's all I know. Yeah.
It's my life. It's what I do.
Yeah.
And that's why they invited me to go do this race. And I was like, oh, okay. So after that, I was like, so you're telling me my normal life, what I just do, makes me naturally good at a sport that other people like train for and try on. It's like,
Sign me up.
I wonder what happens if I actually try. And that's what happened when I was with mountain biking.
So how old were you when you did your first race?
15.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Terrible. It's actually comical looking back at it now, because at the time I didn't know any different. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was just out there being a kid.
Was it here in Tennessee or was
Yeah.
it? Okay.
Yeah, it was over in Lynchburg. It's a 12-hour endurance race.
Okay.
So the whole point of it was to just go as far as you can in 12 hours.
Just wide open.
There's 11-mile lap, and the number of laps you complete inside of 12 hours is your score. So for me, at 15 years old, knew nothing about mountain biking. I'd never been on a mountain bike trail before in my life. I'd ridden like off-road.
Or like
as it said.
nutritional management for.
Didn't know a thing about it.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I didn't have a coach in my back seat. I didn't have a mechanic. I didn't have anything. I didn't know any of that stuff at all. So I had, for any of your listeners that might know what this is, I was riding a dirt jump bike in a 12-hour endurance
Single
race.
speed dirt jumper.
Single speed dirt jumper, 26-inch wheels. The seat was slammed all the way down. I didn't know that you were supposed to put your seat up at all until I was like 20 miles into this race, and someone yelled at me, "Hey, put your seat up." And I was like, "What do you mean put your seat up?" And I literally stopped to talk to him because I was like, I was exhausted. I need a break anyways. I was 20 miles something into this race, and I was just like seat down, no idea what I was doing. And I genuinely asked this random bystander on the side of the track, and they're like, "Do you not know that you need to put your seat up?" And they could tell that I was confused.
Yeah.
And they literally took the time to explain to me the biology of like, hey, you need your seat up because you're gonna like open your muscles up. You're able to pedal better. If you'll raise your seat up, you'll be able to go a whole lot better. Mm-hmm. And then they asked me, I was like, "How many miles have you done so far?" Because this was like 6-8 hours into the race. And I was like, "I think this is lap 3 or 4. And they gave me this look like, "You've done what?" I can still remember clear as day the look on this random person's face. "You've pedaled that bike how far on this terrain?" And I was like, "Yeah, is that not normal?" And we're talking like the equivalent of a Walmart bike.
Yeah. And
I remember I got the same number of laps as second place in the race. I finished with 5 laps, so I did 50-something miles that day.
Dang.
And how did that go? Oh, I had done like 2 laps up until that point. We're like 6-8 hours into the race. And then that was when the person said, "Hey, raise your seat up." And I'm naturally.
And you're like, yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa, hold on. I got a whole other gear I didn't know about."
Yeah.
And I started going faster, and my lap times cut like in half when that happened. And of course, I just exhausted myself. I remember this has been like hour 8 or 9. I came around to the pit area, what we call it, and I literally like fell off my bike and fell asleep. The people that were there with me were there like cleaning the bike off because it was a muddy race. Mm-hmm. And there happened to be a couple pro riders across the pit lane from us, and they saw me like fall off my bike and just lay down, and they could see we had nothing. Like, we didn't have a tent, we didn't have toolkits, we didn't have nothing. Like, my friend's parents that I was with grabbed a stick off the floor and just like beating the bike to get the mud off. And they were like, "Do you guys have any nutrition? Like, what are you drinking throughout this?" And like, water.
Yeah.
They're like, "You're doing a 12-hour endurance race with just water?" And they're like, yeah, isn't that what you're supposed to do? Like, drink water, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, that's not how endurance
Not
sports
gonna cut it,
work.
buddy.
It's not going to work. Like, you see the state you're in, drink this. And they gave me, still to this day, I have no idea what they gave me. I know it came in a silver, like, sparkling package looking thing. And they said, dump this in a liter of water and drink the entire thing before your next lap.
So for people that don't know, describe the disciplines that are within mountain biking, because you kind of went into being more of a downhill guy.
Yes.
But like describe like cross country, enduro, downhill, like what is like all the disciplines and kind of what are they broadly?
Okay, so that has changed over the years. Different disciplines inside the mountain biking world have risen and fallen throughout the years.
What's like a 10,000-foot perspective?
If you can think, what's the easiest way to explain this?
I know very little about the whole mountain biking world.
So we can either look at it from a perspective of comparison to other sports or just like 10,000 foot
like,
view. You've got
what's cross country?
If we look at the Olympic sports, let's go that direction.
Okay.
The Olympic sports are cross country, which is a mountain bike sport that is all about distance and time. So it's like the Olympic cross country event is designed, the track length, the technicality, the number of riders, all that is designed to be roughly a 90-minute race. All the races, regardless of distance, the top winner should land somewhere a ballpark 90 minutes, depending on a lot of different variables. So it's very much tuned to the powerhouse rider, the person who can just go hold high power for a long, long time, super high cardio output. These are your track star type athletes. And then you've got inside the mountain bike world, you've also got enduro, which is like multi-stage race sort of thing where the uphill segment does not count. Think where you pedal with your buddies all the way to the top of this huge mountain. Like you're all climbing for like an hour. No one cares how fast you get to the top of the mountain. You're just hanging out talking to your buddies like this. And then once you get to the very top of the mountain, then the clock starts and you race back to the bottom. So it's all about the technicality.
Cool.
But you get the social aspect of, which it's like we're out riding mountain bikes together. You know, like when you're kids, you're all going to hang out and just pedal to the destination together. And then when you get to the top of the mountain, you're like, who's going to be the fastest to get to the bottom? Who's going to hit that big jump, you know? Who's going to clear that gnarly section that we saw on the way up? You know, who's going to send it? That's enduro. It's meant to replicate that social environment, and enduro races are so fun for that reason. I did a few of those and had some pretty good results. That was what showed me. I was like, I actually have the speed to be in the pro class, because on individual stages when I was racing enduro, because I started in cross country in the endurance side, and then I did a couple enduro races, and I was like, I kind of think I could be good at this. And so I got my downhill bike. And downhill is the far extreme other side of cross country. That is where you take like a ski lift to the top. There's no uphill pedaling whatsoever. It is all technical skill. So the way that sport runs, and this is the one that I wound up racing full time in, like think ski resort. You're going to take a ski lift to the very top of the mountain, and then there's a designated track. So generally they're like 10 to 20 feet wide. And it just wiggles its way down the mountain. So it's going to be all sorts of rocks, roots, huge jumps, like 50, 60-foot jumps sometimes. Very, very large features. We're talking like motocross size stuff. And honestly, the speeds that we wind up going are not too far dissimilar from motocross in some cases, depending on the track.
Okay. That's insane.
It's actually wild. So we don't have a motor. We're relying mostly on gravity. And it's just, it's unreal. I saw a scientific comparison of downhill mountain biking to other sports. And at least at the very, very sharp end of the stick, like the World Cup guys, they're talking about the precision of going 40 miles an hour and being able to pick out a penny 100 yards away and hit it. It's if you're going that fast through the woods and you've got trees like a foot on each side of you.
Oh, it scared me.
And you have to pick out a 1-inch sized line 100 yards from you and point that direction and know there's all sorts of stuff between here and there that you got to get to. It's wild.
We went to the Tennessee Nationals a couple years ago, and I watched some of the pro riders at Windrock. And
Yeah.
like I was having secondhand anxiety, like watching them go through
Mm-hmm.
like two trees like this, and like some of them were like laying the bike over and like
Yes.
bouncing off of rocks and using like features. And
Mm-hmm.
I watched one or two guys, and I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore.
Yep. They, in the particular interview that I'm thinking of, they were talking about how the downhill mountain biking is the most aggressively precise sport you can get.
I would agree.
So you hear people talk about all the time. When you see the sport just as a spectator, you're like, man, those guys just have so much bravery. They just have no fear. Not at all true. They have every bit the same exact fear that anyone else would have. The difference is they've trained themselves to look for such tiny details, and they're so confident at hitting that one detail that they can ride through what just appears like a mess of rocks and roots and big jumps. But they can look at all that chaos and go, no, there's a clean line right through there. If I hop from here to there, and then I brake a little bit here, and then I can take 2 pedal strokes right after that, it's actually kind of smooth. And that's why when you see pro riders run through like a nasty, hairy section of rocks, they make it look easy. It's because they found the smoothest, easiest way to do it. And that's one of the things, one of the many that designates a pro rider from a beginner rider is their ability to look at the chaos of the track that's trying to kill you, and they can go, I can make that easy. They're just able to string together little, we call it line choice.
Yeah.
Where you're able to pick the easiest way. It's like move your bike 2 inches that way, and all of a sudden that crazy sharp rock, well, there's a little divot right there. It's only 2 inches wide. But if I can hit my front tire on that little 2-inch wide divot, and then there's a rock right on the back side of it that I can push against,
Yeah.
I can get to the turn that direction. But otherwise, it just looks like a pile of rocks in a turn after. You know, little details like that you're able to hit at full speed. No motor, just gravity. So the faster you let it roll, the faster you're going to go.
So what was your progression through the sport? So you did your first race at 15, more of like an endurance style.
Yep.
What did you go from there?
So when I got to college, I was racing on the collegiate team at ETSU. I wound up getting sponsored by Monster Energy, so
Okay.
I got to wear the Monster Energy helmet for a little while in college. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. They don't really give those out very easy.
No,
Yeah.
no.
You gotta be pretty decent to ride for Monster.
I actually am a little shocked that I got it because I did not have the results to earn it. I don't know really what I did, if I'm being honest, other than just a really, I suppose I had an impressive resume and on the videos that I sent in to get the subscription, or not subscription, the sponsorship, the application.
Yeah.
I must have had an impressive application. But no, I was known in college as the Monster Kid because everything I owned was Monster branded. I was wearing the Monster backpack, and I'd go to class and be like, dude, you got a drink? So yeah, I'd have like 10 Monsters in my backpack at all times going through college.
Yeah.
And so I'd sit down at class and I'd see somebody like
You were
falling
everybody's
asleep.
best friend.
I was everybody's best friend, brother. I was like, hey, I got you. Here's a Monster. Hey, here's another one. You know, what flavor you like? And so I would have friends like, dude, can you get me like a case of whatever flavors? Like, yeah, I can do that.
I got you.
And I was like, next month. And I would be like, hey, here's like a whole like stack. I mean, they would send me a pallet of drinks and gear, wristbands, water bottles, backpacks, T-shirts, you name it. I just they would just send me these care packages full of stuff to give away.
I remember one day they cycled like all their team members through their homepage on their website, and you sent me a text. You're like, dude, I'm on the front page of Monster.
Yeah, that was so surreal.
I was
to me.
like, no way. So I looked it up. I saw you. It was like Andrew Ingram, Crossville, Tennessee. I was like, all right.
Yeah, it's mind blowing. To this day, I still have no idea how I did that.
Yeah.
I had not a clue, but I'm so happy about it.
You got picked up by Monster. What happened next?
Honestly, a little anticlimactic. I kind of hit a life problem where I realized that I needed to focus on school, so I kind of quit mountain biking entirely.
Aw.
Right, 2 years. I think I was on the Monster program for 2 years, and I picked up a trainer. Like, I was actually training. I 18, 19 years old. Genuinely thought I was going to be the next World Cup, like, USDH big name person. I thought that was my trajectory.
Yeah.
Except I always missed out by the tiniest margins, and I never had the right equipment. Being from a small town, never had the right gear, never had the right person in my back pocket, never had any of that. And I unfortunately just lacked the raw intelligence to figure it out on my own.
Yeah.
Fully willing to admit, just plain I wasn't smart enough to use the resources I did have.
So much of that is like the group of riders you're with, the coach, the resources. Like,
Yes.
Everybody thinks like professional sports are all about the athlete. It's a lot about who you're riding with, who you're training with, who your coach is, who you're
Yes.
mentored by. Like,
And I'm going to get to that next,
all
actually.
right, go for it.
Yeah. So after I quit riding mountain biking, I call it my lost years. Like, I quit at like 20 to 22 ish. And I just went back to normal life. I went and got my engineering degree. I worked for a little while, gained a ton of weight. I was out of shape. I felt awful. I was like, is this what 23, 25 years old feels like? Is like fat and out of shape and just, I mean, I'm okay. I'm not dying, but like, what's life about? I really, really hit a low point in life there. And that's when I decided to go down the pathway that led me to here today. There was kind of a defining, actually, I remember the moment. I was so out of shape. I remember very clearly the deck going up to my house that I was living in at the time. It was like a little 2-foot. There was no railing on it. It was like a little ledge. And I went to jump up on the deck 2 feet tall, and I like fell backwards. Like, I jumped up there and I didn't jump hard enough, and I just like didn't quite get up the thing, and I fell backwards. I had to grab the upright that held the roof up. And I was like, Andrew, you've been an athlete your whole life, and you just tried to make a 2-foot step and missed. What is wrong with you? And that moment hit me so hard. Like, I mean, it was a gut punch. And no one was around. No one saw this moment but me. But it still stands out to me this day as that moment of, you are never, under any circumstances, allowed to let yourself get that far out of shape to this point in life again. And I got on Marketplace that day and bought a new bike. I didn't even own a bike at that time.
You'd sold everything?
I'd sold everything. I quit riding bikes entirely.
I didn't know that.
There was a good 2 or 3 years that I did not touch a bike, period. And I didn't own a bike. Like, I don't ride a lot now, but at least I own bikes. And like, when I decided to go, let's go.
You own a few bikes now.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, that moment really, like, that was a pivot point in my life where I said, no, I'm going back to biking. And I remember I got this super cheap mountain bike, and I went to Cumberland Mountain State Park, rode on the hiking trails, and it was so embarrassing. Like, I was mad at myself because I couldn't ride more than like 2 miles, and I was out of shape. I was huffing and puffing, trying to ride sections that I knew I could years before. It was like, I'd forgotten the sport. I'd completely forgotten how to ride a bike. And I got so aggressively mad at myself about it. It's like, I set up a training plan that day, and I started progressively overloading the distance that I was able to do. And then I started adding in sprint sports. And it was less than a year later that I did my first ever 100-mile road ride.
Nice.
And then I had lost like 30 pounds at that point to get to that point. And I was like, all right, Daddy's back. We're going racing.
Is this when you were hosting like the Tansy rides and stuff, and when you guys would loop out there?
Yep.
And okay.
Yep. That section of life was very similar. Yeah,
Okay.
A lot of those people, that wasn't not me at all. Big shout out to what I think was Erin Harris for creating that.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that was her brainchild.
Awesome.
But because of that, I met some really great people who kind of pushed me. Is like, hey, you can do better. Clark Annis, for one.
He was in here.
Dude, no, really?
I got in there. His episode's out. I got him in here like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Clark, if you're listening to this, you have to know how much of an inspiration you've been
He's
in
the
my
man.
life.
I watch all of his stuff all the time. That guy is insane.
Like, unreal inspiration for me.
Yeah.
I cannot overstate how much he inspired me, because he doesn't know this, but he met me like right after I decided I'm gonna be a biker again. Like, I can't do this. This after my pivot point is right when I met Clark, and he got to see my climb of going from way fat, overweight to making the decision that I wanted to pursue athletics again.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Talk about like, cause when you made that pivot that you're talking about, you got really involved with like starting your own brand. So like,
Yes.
talk about the origin story of Hurricane Cycles.
So I guess I have to tell the story of where the name came from.
Tell the story.
So, do you know what happened August 22nd of 1992?
I do not.
Okay, so that is when Hurricane Andrew hit Florida. It was the most devastating hurricane of all time at the time. It's been passed since, but it's still in like the top 5 of the worst hurricanes ever hit the U.S. I was born directly during Hurricane Andrew.
Okay.
In Crossville, way inland, so it didn't affect me. But And it was total coincidence. Like, my parents will never tell you, yeah, we named my kid after a hurricane. It was not on purpose. But either way, that coincidence happened, and Hurricane has been my nickname my entire life since I was born.
Okay.
I have no idea who gave me that
Just
nickname.
pure chaos.
Basically. Well, I earned it. Let's just be real. I have earned the nickname since, but I got that nickname the day I was born by somebody. Don't know who it was, but people have just been calling me that my whole life.
So what year did you start Hurricane Cycles?
2016.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you believe it? This is our 10 year.
That's nuts.
10 years, bro.
Talk about where'd you started at?
So, before I had the actual business license called Hurricane Cycles,
Yeah.
I was running a miniature repair shop in a shed in my backyard. Like, no electricity, no nothing. It was like smaller than this room we're in now. I have pictures of it just purely to remind myself of where I came from. Had like 3 bikes stuffed in a little corner, a little makeshift work stand, and like a few basic tools. So that group ride that we were doing with Aaron and Clark, when people had problems, like, yeah, I can fix that. And so I could do basic maintenance things. At some point, I kind of realized, well, people really do need a bike shop around here. So that's when I created Hurricane Cycles. And I was like, hey, I'm actually starting a business. Can I do any work for you guys? And everyone at that group ride, and there were only like 20 people.
Yeah.
It's not a big group. I went around to every single one of them. Hey, can I work on your bike? Can I work on your bike? I'm here for you. What can I do? How can I serve you? What can I do better? What skills can I learn? What do you need from me? And that turned into what it is now. But Hurricane Cycles was originally founded purely to serve a very small group of people. I did not have the ambitions then that I do now. The vision has grown since then because, I don't know, I felt like at the time I was blinded by small town Andrew. I was still just the fat and out of shape failure. Like, I don't know. I didn't have any grand goals. I was just like, I just want to kind of do something useful. That was really all I cared about at the time because I felt like I'd given up on everything in life at that point. And when I had that realization of I'm going to be somebody instead, it's not like I suddenly turned on and went, oh, I'm pro athlete. Really, I got to just get there. It was like, no, I'm fat slob. I got to do something about it. That was my mindset. None of that came from like, I've got to be the world's best. Didn't exist. So Hurricane Cycles, honestly, was sort of started in the middle of Andrew, stop being fat and just be useful. Like, that's really where I was at.
Find something to do and do it well.
Yeah, basically. But then I wound up finding out, I was like, hang on, I'm kind of good at this. It was a similar thing with the mountain biking. When I started working on bikes and taking care of customers, it's like, no, I kind of have a natural aptitude for this as well. This is working. Wildest story of my life, Chad. The wildest thing. When I started the real Hurricane Cycles, my parents gave me a free little steel shed they had in the corner of their property.
I remember that.
Like, their business is not on a main road. So it, like, Crossville's a tiny little town, right? 10-ish thousand people. Where my parents' business is off the main road. Like, it's not really in Crossville proper.
Close to downtown, one of the main access points.
Yeah, it's close, but it's off to the side. And they gave me a small side piece of that with a little steel shed, 300 square feet, no water, no electricity, no heat, none of that good stuff. Just a carport, literally. And so I filled it up with whatever stuff I had. I had no money to my name. So I took $2,000 on my personal account, which was like 3/4 of everything I had to my name. Like, that was a huge move for me. I created a business account and I said, every single thing I do from now forward is going to be from that $2,000. It's like, cause I don't have anything else, nothing going for me. In that $2,000, I bought 2 bikes as inventory, and I bought some tubes, some cables and housing, because I'd set up a dealer account as well now that I had my business license. And that was it. I had to build a floor because it was just a gravel floor, so I had to buy enough wood to build up a floor. I wound up somehow or another, when I would set up and start business for the day, I would put these bikes out in the gravel parking lot with a banner that said Hurricane Cycles. I have a picture of this banner. If you can put it up right now for your viewers to see.
Yeah.
Dude, it doesn't make sense. We produced a grand total gross revenue of $49,000 that year. My first year in the
Dang.
steel shed. I don't know how much profit that was. It wasn't much, but
You're like, okay,
I
I can
was
do this.
that was my moment where it was like at the end of a year I had grossed a little under $50,000, and to me I'd never heard of $50,000.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a real number. I thought that was like what millionaires did, like that. It was just $50,000 to me at that age, at that place in my life, was just like such an absurdly large number that I was in shock. And now looking back at it, I'm like, did you eat?
Yeah. So how many years were
Um,
you there before you moved to Main Street?
2.5.
Okay.
So in 2018, I had, well, I guess it was in 2018. I had produced like $150,000 in that same steel shed, which is mind blowing. I have no idea how I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Never in my life would I recommend anyone try to do what I just did that time. It defies all laws of physics, all laws of business. There's no reason I should have been able to create that much money in that location.
Well,
But
you do a good job, and one of the things that I like about how you run your company is like you have excellent customer service.
yeah,
And this day and age, how stuff is going, so like you have these AI voice automated call centers, and like a real person who really stands behind their brand and really does good work, I will pay extra
yes,
to go to somebody who's a real person.
yes,
You know what I mean? Like we're so inundated. Like your customer service is always off the charts.
yes.
So
That's been from day one.
yeah,
People obsession, and I hope we get to that point. There's a point I want to make as we get down this pathway that I think is really, really good.
So how'd the Main Street location go?
Oh man, I got to give another shout out. There's going to be lots of these throughout this interview where I've got to give credit where it's due.
Man.
Most of this is not my doing. I really is luck.
That means you're telling the truth.
Yeah, dude, it wouldn't have happened. So
Yeah.
in 2018, like I said, I'd done $150,000 gross, which when you net that out to profit, everything that I was doing in the meantime, I may have made the equivalent of $10 an hour, maybe $10 an hour. So I was below minimum wage, more or less, still, even at that what seemed like a large number gross revenue. So I couldn't afford rent anywhere. I was actively shopping all the locations in downtown Crossville or around. I was like, how can I create a real storefront? I'd never done a real business before with real overhead. I mean, I had overhead, but not like anything that was going to kill me. And when I was looking at all these lease negotiations around, I went and I talked to so many landlords around Crossville, met a lot of great people. I just couldn't afford it. It just simply was out of reality. So I joined the Young Professionals Alliance. I had to lie about my occupation to get in the first place. Thankfully, I think it was Jay Wright let me in. Thank you, Jay. Because I think there was, I forget what it was now. There was some requirement they had on their bylaws that was like, I technically don't meet that. But Jay was like, no, you're in. Come on. Thank you, Jay. But in that, I was at a political meeting, actually. This was a open house or like a round table discussion with some political people that were trying to get elected to city council at the time, and I was by far the youngest person in the room. I was there purely out of desperation. I need to meet somebody. I don't know how this is going to help me. I just got to be around the right people. And that night, I met Adam Strawn. This is the shout out. Adam, you are a hero, because I was just I didn't know any form of political tact, so I was just telling as many people in my situation as I could. Hey, I have a business idea. I've got ambition. No one's ever going to outwork me. I don't have resources. I don't have connections. Only thing I have is my hands, and I can promise you they'll move faster for longer than anyone you've ever met. Give me an opportunity. Who do you know? And Adam was like, I know somebody you need to meet. Enter Rob Harrison. And Rob, at the time, was on the board of directors for the Playhouse. And they had a storage building in downtown Crossville with what used to be an office front. Now it was just storage junk. It was a mess.
Okay.
But it was because it had not been occupied for 20 years, and people just filtering through the building had changed it, rearranged, stored a bunch of junk. People forgot about it.
Yeah.
It hadn't been used in like 20 years. So
how long did it take you to gut it and like get it to where it was?
About 6 months.
Okay.
So we got in there. Rob was like, hey, I'll let you lease this place for $300 a month. And then whatever you put into the building for like improvements, we'll take that off your rent.
Awesome.
So
Rob's a good dude. I like him.
love Rob. That was a combo between Rob and Bryce McDonald, the CEO of Cumberland County
Also a great
Playhouse.
dude. Love him too.
Please, I hope all these names that I'm going to shout out, I hope everyone hears this because you are a pivotal point of this journey for sure.
Listen, everyone thinks like when they see successful entrepreneurs, they're like, oh, he must have just gotten. No. It's a lot of people that genuinely want to see you succeed. Like, you still have to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
You still got to do your part, but no one gets anywhere by themselves.
True. So true. So anyways, we made that happen. And in 2018, I signed my lease. This was like October, I think, of 2018.
Nice.
I still have the picture on my phone where I put the key on top of the lease. It was the first time I'd ever seen anything like this. It's like, I just signed a contract. I'm like 25 years old, dude.
Yeah.
And 26. And I'm functionally still like a 14-year-old child, like
Same.
literally. So I'm in shock. I've never seen anything like this before. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, sign the paper. Let's go to work.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Which is an important part about entrepreneurship. You sign the paperwork and then learn. Like you trust yourself to just go, I don't know what I'm doing, but I will by the time this is over. Not an expert yet, but I'm about to be. And you put the same amount of work into learning as you did into getting to where you're at now. Yep. And as far as I can tell, that journey never ends. But anyways, so we got there. It took me, I think, was it $20,000 to build out all of the Crossville location?
Okay. And then
I didn't have that.
How many years did you run it in Crossville?
I got another shout out to make first.
Okay.
I got another shout out to make. So speaking of no connections, but included in that same group, I met Scott Shanks. I've known him for a long time, but I wasn't close with him at all. Mm-hmm. But someone told me he's a mentor investor in the Crossville area, and he's known for that. Well, I got connected with him, and he is what allowed me to pull out a $10,000 loan because I couldn't have gotten a loan of any size, period, if I wanted to. I had nothing, no anything to my name. He helped me with that $10,000 loan to build out a storefront in downtown Crossville to run a bike shop in a town that has nowhere near enough population to support this idea. But he took a risk on me there. So huge shout out to Scott as well. Somehow, in the middle of all that, between October and April, when I actually opened the storefront, we worked all winter long. Somehow in that time period, I managed to profit another $10,000. I had several of the biggest customers I've ever to this day still have come through and spend enough money with me to build out the rest of that store.
Nice.
I had no idea where those customers came from. It was this little blip on my radar that happened at exactly the right time and then went away again. But it allowed me to build the store out.
All right. So,
but the build out, get this. We're gonna jump past the Crossville situation. That $20,000 equated to 4 years, I think it was, or the way the math worked out, however much it was my free rent basically, because they took off what my building cost was from the total rent at the rent value they charged me, ended the exact day in 2023 when I moved to Knoxville to start the full flagship Hurricane Cycles.
Well, I wanted you to pause that and talk about Cumberland Mountain Project.
Okay.
Because I get people that come up here to record these or come up here to hang out or whatever just to visit, and they're like, hey, do you have anywhere to ride? And I'm like, yeah, go ride at Cumberland Mountain.
Yes.
So, like, I want people to know that come here to ride.
Yes.
Who they have to thank for all their trail system.
Okay, so
I know you weren't doing it by yourself, but you were kind of the brainchild behind that whole project.
I did the vast majority of that project by myself.
I know. So how did that whole thing get started?
Well, honestly, that had a lot of connections as well. That was people way higher position than me had to push some buttons. Big shout out to Brock Hill on this one because there was some stuff that got held up at the state government. And luckily, Brock was on our side and said, no, we need to make that happen. I don't know what that means. He's never told me the backstory on that.
Yeah,
all I know is there was a hang-up. Brock Hill got involved, and then there was no hang-up. So thank you, Brock, for whatever buttons you pushed on that. like I said over and over again, Crossville being a tiny town had no infrastructure. There was not many bike riders, definitely no mountain bike riders because we didn't have any form of infrastructure. But what I did was I looked at the property map for Cumberland Mountain State Park, and I could see there was one decently large, about 20-acre piece of property that was completely unused. Mm-hmm. And there was a nice parking lot right there beside it. I was like, hang on, this is right close to the middle of the park. It's not like it's way, way out there.
Yep.
And it's a relatively large piece of property that can be used for something. So I made a fairly elaborate proposal with GPS points and everything, saying, "Hey, if you'll let me, I think I can build this trail." And they said, "We'll let you on one condition. You have to go get your state certified master trail builder certification." So they allowed me to jump into a class that was otherwise reserved for state employees.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's how I got my master trail building certification. That allowed me to build on Tennessee State Park property. And from 2017 on, I think it was 2020. Is that right? Yeah. From 2017 to 2020, we were under construction, and I got all sorts of volunteer groups involved. There was a few different volunteer groups that put a lot of work into it. And I mean, untold numbers. I got grant funding from several different places, like Jeff Ross Cycling Foundation in Knoxville. A couple state grants that were all like $1,500, $2,000. I think the biggest one we got was $3,000 as far as funding goes. 100% of that funding went to machine rental, trailer rental, the bigger expenses, so that I could maximize the effectiveness of having those machines. I was working like 12-hour, 15-hour days.
You were out there on that little Mini X for months.
Yeah, and with no help. I mean, it was just me and the machine, and I would work 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. because that was the only way to get the full. When you rent the machine for a week, you get 40 hours of allocated machine time. And to have the machine on and running for 40 hours a week means you're working 60 hours a week or more.
Yeah.
So that was an adventure. I'm glad I was young when I did that because my body would not allow me to do it now. Yeah.
Well, if you've ridden Cumberland State Park, thanks for all your, seriously, like, thanks for, you put a ton of work and effort into that, and it keeps getting better and better. People keep adding onto it.
Yes.
People maintain it, so.
It's an incredible asset to Cumberland Mountain.
Thank you for the infrastructure. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I know Sean very much appreciates it.
Yes. So good. It was really cool how much attention that got. Yeah, and you and I did a really cool video feature on that when we built the big jump line. That was cool.
That was cool.
One of the pictures you took of me on that trail is actually still the background of my computer.
Nice.
Yeah, love that stuff, man.
So how did it go from, so you got your shop open, built the trail system. How did you move to Farragut?
So we reached a point in the Crossville market where I was paying attention to where my customers were coming from, and I could tell that we'd kind of maxed out what the greater Crossville region was capable of. Mm-hmm. And I was like, we're never going to grow. And being a small town, I was like, well, I can live now. Like I'm okay. I'm comfortable, but I'm not thriving. I'm definitely not saving for retirement. Like I'm not going anywhere. So I knew I needed to use the skills that I'd gotten to go to a bigger market. I was like, I need to grow. I need to learn more as a human. I need to be a better, bigger person. And in 2023, I guess in 2022, I was actually like going around to all the Knoxville markets and not Knoxville market, all the Knoxville bike shops, talking to all the owners, trying to get a feel on what the Knoxville bike market was doing. So I could are any bike shops going out of business? Are any changing ownership? Is there anybody struggling? I was looking to either buy or find a location to just open a new store. At that point, I had enough revenue through the business. I think I can get a loan. I think this is possible. But I got lucky. There was one bike shop that was right at closing. You could walk in. The owner was already looking at other options for his life, and you could tell the bike shop was in distress. And I talked to the owner, and he's like, yeah, I'm planning on closing next year. So I waited for a little while, about a year. And sure enough, he closed, and then we were able to get the lease right on the backside of that. So that helped us a lot. Luckily, when one shop closes, there's still a pretty decent number of customers that know that that's a bike shop location. They weren't expecting it to close. To them, it's just normal. So we were able to change the sign, and customers just kept coming right in as if we'd been there for a while.
Nice.
So that was a really easy way to shortcut the process of starting a new business. But in the middle of that, the reason that I was going to Knoxville so much was I was traveling to Windrock to train for racing. So I actually got my pro license in 2020.
Okay.
And Knoxville is a incredible training place for mountain biking. We have some of the world's fastest athletes in Knoxville in the mountain bike world. We have one athlete that lives in Knoxville who's on the list of the winningest World Cup titles ever in the history of the sport. I don't think he's number one, but he's really close. So, like, because he lives there, he attracts all kinds of people that want to ride with him, train with him, and there's just a list of World Cup riders that have huge aspirations and big business assets in the Knoxville area. So I was wanting to be around that full speed.
So for people that just got into mountain biking, give like a crawl, walk, run of how to get good at the sport. Like from for your professional opinion, like if someone just got into it and they're like, okay, this is fun, but I want to get a little better. I might want to start competing. I want to start testing my abilities. How would you advise them to get better at mountain biking?
Play bikes.
Okay.
Literally, some of the best athletes that I know don't even train. Like once you get that's the whole answer. I was about to go a different direction, but no, that's the whole answer. Play bikes. You don't need to worry about racing until you're at the pro level.
Okay.
You can race, of course, it's fun, but like don't.
Or let's just say like someone lives in Chattanooga and they're like right next to Walden's Ridge, or like someone lives next to Baker's in Knoxville, and they want to start like getting better at some jump lines. They may want to start getting a little more air time. Like they want to shave some seconds off some of their downhill laps. Like, what's the mindset that they need to be, or like what's some like tangible skills that they need to focus on?
Literally, if it sounds fun, do it. Like if you're the kind of rider that's gonna say, I've never hit a jump that big. What's the worst that can happen? Try it. Go do it.
Yeah.
If you're the kind of rider that wants to throw a backflip, go do it. If you're the kind of rider that's just like, I wonder if I can jump through that crazy rock section instead of like just scared bouncing through it,
Yeah.
If you're that kind of rider, go do it. Eventually you'll develop skills. Now this is the progression from as far as racing goes. This is not mountain bike skills because we can go a different direction with that. But from a speed perspective on a track where point A to point B is what matters, not what you do in the middle. Beginner racing is all about survive. Just get to the bottom of the track. Your class 3, your beginner riders, those guys are just who can survive and not wreck.
Yeah.
That's it. Just stay on your bike. Class 2 and 1 get you up to trail speed where you can ride all the features. You've mastered the actual technical art of doing the track. Category 1 racing is going to be like, I'm probably on the brakes a lot. I'm just kind of riding the trail. I'm not pulling speed out of the trail. The transition from when you get to the point of, okay, I can do all the things. I'm comfortable hitting the big jumps. I'm okay hitting all the features, whatever those features look like. At some point, you graduate past doing it to, I've got such mastery that I now have to pull speed from the track. Now it's like, I can do all the exact same things as the guy who's winning the race, but the question mark comes down to how much force can I apply to the backside of that jump. Whenever I do jump, I know I'm coming down on the back slope of the hill. Now, how hard can I push into the backside of that thing to generate as much speed forward as I can?
Gotcha.
When I get into a turn, I have to lock my core a specific way, and I have to hit the apex of the turn just right so that all of my body weight gets slingshot around the turn rather than me being a passenger through the turn, so that when I exit the turn, I'm going faster than when I came in. Most people will just kind of hit a turn and they'll slow down a little bit because they either they wiggle through the turn, or they'll kind of just like come in narrow and they'll hit the apex and they'll slow down real bad. But if you learn those details and okay, I know how to ride a turn properly. Now it's a matter of how much force can I apply to it At that point, your fitness, your cardio, the core strength, your coordination, and your rapid ability to interpret terrain on the fly, all that starts to matter. But until you get to that point of graduating from plain old trail mastery, we call it trail speed, up until you're forcing time back out of the mountain, that is the distance between Cat 1 and Pro. That's why I said up until you get to Cat 1 or like knocking on the door of Pro, just go play bikes, because just simply finding something fun to do and hey, I can do that. It keeps you engaged. It keeps you having fun the whole way through the sport. And you'll quickly find out there's beginner racers that are like all about like, I'm a racer, and they're like Cat 2, Cat 3, whatever, and they're great people. They're having a blast with the sport. But you'll get some other kid that's just like, I'm just a hooligan that grew up on a bike. He's like, I don't even race bikes.
Yeah.
I just show up this race because my buddies are here, and he's going to destroy you. I have seen so many of those kids, 18, 19 years old, blazing fast. They're like junior expert category. And as far as the adult 18 years up and older goes, they're going to slot right in there at that Cat 1 level every single time.
How do you recommend that people pick riding partners?
Speed. Well, if racing is your target, pick a riding partner, have fun.
Or people to train with. Like, how did you build your circle of people to ride with?
For me personally, it was being at the right places. So for all intents and purposes, I may as well have lived at Windrock. Like, there was a core group of us guys. We weren't all close friends per se, but we were all about the same speed, and all of us wanted to get faster at racing. So it was like we'd show up at the mountain, same group of guys every single weekend, and it was like, hey, you think we can go hit this line together? And we would like talk at the top of the mountain. We're going to take this trail to this trail to this trail, and we'd basically race each other to the bottom over and over and over again. Yeah. And that was just fun. So there's a law of diminishing returns. When you're a beginner, you can ride with everybody. It doesn't matter. Go do it. Everyone's available. As you get a little faster, either the skill level drops off, where there's less people at your skill level, but most importantly, there's less people that want to get better at the same rate that you do.
Gotcha.
So I wound up, because I didn't always have somebody there that wanted to train the way I did, I would always look for those World Cup guys, the ones that were like a lot faster than me. I would be like, hey, can I follow you? Like Dakota Norton, can I follow you down the mountain? He'd be like, sure. He didn't care because his training speed was past my max speed.
But you could watch what he was doing.
I saw it as an opportunity. Like, I knew I was never going to keep up with him the whole way down the mountain. No shot. But for like half the track, I could keep him within sight. And I'm like, I see what you did there. And it was only like I would get, 30 seconds of learning, and then I'd have 3 more minutes until like, okay, reconvene at the bottom of the track. And then like we'd ride the shuttle back to the top and just whatever nonsense conversation. And then we'd start the lap. It's like, I'm going to follow you again. He's like, you're going to follow me again? Well, sure, cool. Just letting him know I'm there, just a courtesy thing. Another 30 seconds of learning. And it was like, oh, that top turn to the top, you hit that differently than I did. And I would try to replicate it. And then over the course of a year doing that, I can remember so clearly. He probably didn't even remember this, but there was a moment where I got to the bottom of the track and I could still see Dakota. Like, I mean, he wasn't way, way out in front of me. I mean, he still would have destroyed me in a race.
Yeah.
But
you were hanging.
But like I watched him cross the finish line as I was going over like the last jump line section. Yeah. And to me, that was just such a huge accomplishment. And then to cap it all off, for those of you who don't know, Dakota Norton's like one of the fastest World Cup racers in the U.S. right now. Like, unbelievable athlete. When I got to the bottom, he turns around, like he hadn't even come to a full stop yet. Like, he was still stopping as I came across the finish line. And he turns around and sees me. He's like, bro, you hung on.
Yeah.
And like I could
those
see
little
it.
comments, you're like,
it's not like he gave me a big compliment or anything.
I
mean, he just turned around and walked off. It was like, you're still here.
Yeah.
And then left. And I was like, yes. And to me, it was like such a big deal. Because awesome. It's like those idols, man. Just being in the same room as the people. You're like, I want to be like you. And you get that little bitty ounce of, I got to be like that.
That's the coolest thing about like extreme sports or like endurance athletics or just like endurance sports in general, you get to, it's the equivalent of getting to sit down and eat lunch with Tom Brady.
Yeah, it really
Like, you
is.
literally get to interact with the top athletes in these disciplines. Like,
Yes.
I've met some of my heroes through kayak. I've gotten to get laps with some of my heroes. They
Yes.
don't know they're my heroes, but like, I've idolized these guys for years or decades, and then I get to sit at the takeout and chit chat with them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And they're just people, but it's the equivalent of the mountaintop pro that hangs out and it's just a normal dude on the mountain, whatever.
Yep.
But people don't realize that you get to interact with the highest of the highest level.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, that was the only way that I found to train. That was your question. Like, how do you progress?
Yeah.
Was being in the right environment where those people were and just being around them. Like I said, I'm not close friends with any of the people that I was training with, just kind of in passing. Hey, how you doing? How's your day going? That sort of thing. But being in the environment around the people that I knew were there to train. That was their job. Those guys were there to get faster. I wasn't getting paid to do it. Yeah. I was in the pro class. So I had graduated to the pro level, which just means I get to compete against those guys. And truthfully, the only designation of being pro is you're now eligible for getting money for the sport. It's not like you get your pro license and all of a sudden you've got this big sponsorship endorsement contract. Like, that's not how it works. I was just in the pro class, which means from a consumer's out there perspective, it's like, oh, dude, you get to race against Aaron Gwynn. It's like, unfortunately,
Go, yay me.
Yeah. So this is not what you asked, but here's another thing that I would love for anyone who's actually interested in the transition from Cat 1 to pro. Unless you're someone that very clearly has the jump from like junior X up to pro, kiss your chances of winning anything goodbye ever again. Because you'll see guys that come through the ranks. They're a pretty fast beginner. They've got plenty of skill, aptitude. They're super athletic. They get to Cat 1. They're just destroying everybody. And then they get to pro, and it just kills them. They just, like, momentum dies. And it's like you got to want it so bad, because you just have to dump so much effort into it. The difference between pro and Cat 1 from like a psychological perspective, those guys are both going slower mentally and faster physically than you are. And you just have to reconcile with that. You're done. If you want to be the guy who likes the recognition of like, I'm winning races, and you really want that gold medal to show on your Instagram page, if that's what you want, stay in Cat 1. You're done. Like, you're cooked. Your career of winning things is over once you get to the pro level. It's done.
Gotcha.
You have to accept that you are never going to be cool again once you graduate to the pro level. Like the old famous saying is, you know who really doesn't care that you're a doctor?
Other doctors.
It's the exact same way in racing. You can think, oh, I got my pro license, and you're like all giddy. Like, you look at your little card and it has the P by your name, and you're just like so excited. And then you get to the races, and you walk up to someone like Dakota or Aaron, and they just kind of look at you like,
cool, first time.
Yeah, they're like, who are you? And they just ignore you like you just don't exist. Yeah. And it's like you're isolated in that group a little bit, because the pro class gets all their separate stuff, like your separate shuttles, your separate practice times, separate race times. So like you're around those people. And you go from your peers in Cat 1, where it's just like a big party, everybody's having a good time, and then pro class, everyone's like silent.
This is serious.
They're just like they're super chill hangout dudes up until the clock starts, and then it's just like laser. I mean, an animal comes out. These dudes, like, they go to work mode. Yeah. Like, and it's honestly quiet. Like the starting gate of a pro class race is dead quiet. No one's talking. No one. You've got all the top factory dudes. They're probably hidden in a corner somewhere with their doctors and trainers and mechanics and whatnot, doing their little warm-up thing. Like, you don't even see them unless you look around the corner. Like, oh, there they are, hidden. And then all the rest of us dudes that are just trying to be there, just like either, I mean, everyone's got their own thing. They're either dealing with nerves, or they're like fixing a last-minute thing on their bike, or they're going through their own warm-up strategy, whatever they do, calisthenic stretching, some bike work maybe. Whatever it is, but it's all like, we're here to race, and everyone takes it so seriously. So that's the big distinction. If you want to win things, do not even consider going pro.
Talk about the Hurricane Cycles nowadays and Reef Coffee and like how you mirrored those two together. Like plug your stuff. Like, what are you doing now?
All right, so I got to give the transition what happened from racing to now.
Okay.
So when I moved to Knoxville in 2023, I quit everything. Like, I dropped my whole life to move to Knoxville to start this bike shop because in my mind, air quotes, pro class racer looks cool on paper, doesn't mean anything at all in the real world. So I was like, this was another similar pivot moment to whenever I tried to jump up on my deck and I realized I was fat and out of shape. I was like, financially, I'm fat and out of shape. I'm not doing anything for my future right now. As cool as racing is, as fun as that is, every bit of it was amazing. It was fueling my insides, but nothing else. And I was like, I kind of want to raise a family. I kind of want to be like a productive adult. So I moved to Knoxville and I dropped everything. I quit racing mountain bikes. I quit all of my hobbies. I quit riding in general so that I could focus on business. And I really dove into a lot of books and tried to search out mentors, people way smarter than me in the business world. And so that location came available, dropped everything, and I started working 100-hour weeks to just make my vision happen. Lo and behold, we absolutely blew up in the best way possible. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. So the bike shop succeeded, but we're in this huge space. The building that I am in currently, was originally built in the 80s as a high-end restaurant. So It's got some elaborate architecture in there that's just beautiful. It was an attractive bike shop, but the layout kind of felt weird. That was the only problem. I never could get over the layout just feeling odd. So I had all this restaurant infrastructure in there. It's like, what do I do with it? And that's where Reef Coffee came from. I wish I had this elaborate story about how I loved coffee and it was a passion project.
It fits perfectly in there on the right when you walk in. It was made for that space.
Yeah. So what I did, and I don't think you know this actually, in January, because we launched the first version of Reef Coffee that was, like you said, kind of tucked in a corner, I got overwhelming response from groups saying this is so much more convenient than every other coffee shop in like a good distance from here. If you can give me professional seating, comfortable environment, slightly more private than other coffee shops, I'm going to start bringing professional clients here.
Nice.
So I realized my network was a bunch of professionals, and we built out a seating area that caters to private professional meetings.
Nice.
So our coffee shop is kind of a little more dimly lit. The seating is really spread out. They're all super comfortable chairs, and they're in pairs around the room. Had to build an entirely new bike shop from ground up. So we're kind of on Hurricane Cycles 5.0 now as of a week and a half ago. But now that we've got this new seating area, a brand new sparkly bike shop ground up build, a brand new coffee shop ground up build, and we had this ground swell of customers. Like, I'm not joking, Chad. I think we had 50 people in the store 2 days ago, Saturday.
Nice. At
one time. That's just one part of the day.
Yeah.
We broke a record for the number of customers that we served in the coffee shop and the bike shop at the same time.
Awesome.
It was unreal. So we are well on track for this year to be just incredible.
Good job.
But Reef Coffee came out of the passion of business, I loved coffee. When I was traveling around the country full time, I always sought out coffee shops because I loved it.
Yeah.
But I never came at it from a business perspective of I love coffee shops. I should run one. That never crossed my mind. It was the building came first. What do I do? Hey, I kind of like coffee. I wonder if that would work. And then I met more incredible people that I could shout out, a whole list of people that really pointed me towards the coffee idea. Now that we're here, okay, now I'm turning into a coffee snob.
Well, if people want to A, get their bike serviced by you,
yes,
or B, want to come hang out at a really cool coffee shop that has a really cool story, how can they find you?
So we've got 2 Instagrams. We've got Reef Coffee Farragut, and we have Hurricane Cycles Bike Shop. Those are both on Instagram and Facebook. We have Reef Coffee Farragut's also on TikTok, which is our fastest growing platform right now. That's very new to me. I've had a very big thing against TikTok forever, and here I am. and it's our best platform.
Nice.
So that's really, really good.
Cool. Well, dude, thanks. Listen, as a personal friend, like I've been on the sidelines cheering you on. So I love everything you're doing. I love your story. You're crushing it. So keep doing what you're doing, man.
I appreciate you, Chad.
Thanks for making time to come by.
Thank you.